Good morning. Hi, I'm Bob Pace, your host. I want to give you a warm welcome to How to Fight CPS and, of course, Save Your Children. Um, I have been fighting CPS for 15 years. Um, my case really started back in 2010 when when I lost my job. That's how CPS started. It, they didn't take my children to 2015. They took three of my six children. Yes, I'm a father of six children and a very caring, loving father, and I've been married for 32 years. And my life was interrupted by the Child Protection Services. Now, that particular agency is a branch of social service and is supposed to protect your children from neglect and abuse and also bring the family back together with reunification. See, your family is broken apart by CPS. You had a family together. Now, whether you had some hiccups or some things that were harmful to the child, were called in with allegations, either by a layperson or by a professional. A layperson is your family, friends, neighbors, relatives, those kinds of things. Those are lay people. Professional is someone like a doctor, a teacher, a principal, a nurse, a policeman, a fireman. They're required by law to report anything that that is could be neglect or abuse with children. And most of the time, when they do call in, it's it's the facts are pretty true. But the lay people seems like they've now expanded to retaliation against a spouse or your neighbor. They don't like the way your dog barks, so they make up stories about um, you. You know that you're supposedly doing something wrong with the kids, and that's sad because in my case, it was my in laws. All my wife's family were calling in for 5 years with allegations that weren't true, all because I lost my job and I was trying to look for another one. But it's hard at age 60. And I was looking for a career kind of job, the job I've been doing for 60 years. So it's uh, it's really hard. Anyway, for 5 years, I was able to stay them off and meet with them outside. Occasionally, let them in the house. They'd find nothing. And I'd show them my utility bills. Here was reports. I didn't pay utility bills. I showed them. I showed their grade reports showing that they're in school and they were getting A's and B's. I showed their closet with clothing. I showed the refrigerator with food. I showed the food prep area and so forth. But it wasn't in 2015 when I had my storm. Me now losing a job, I had a predatory loan that they falsified my income. And I found that out late in the game. And of course, the banks weren't interested in giving out credit lines or loans. And I had $53 million worth of contract work with the state to do construction projects, but the banks weren't interested in credit lines there. So I couldn't get the job started. So they needed the money. So they illegally took my money from those public awarded contracts and used it with the promissory note of we'll get started with your project as soon as we get our state stabilized or so forth. Some excuse. And I could have sued them, but it takes money to sue. And you probably know that attorneys aren't cheap and they certainly, um, trying to think of the word, they certainly deserve what they do if they're good attorneys. Fortunately, there are bad attorneys. There's attorneys that are court appointed, which are the worst. You gotta stay away from those. So there's several ways you can participate with this live podcast. I'm broadcasting from Southern California on YouTube. You found me on Facebook, How to Fight CPS, and I'm drawing you to YouTube live. And I'm using the SteamYard application. So one of the easiest way to interact with the show is to type in comments of your CPS questions. Please show your name, city, state, or country and be complete with your CPS case. I mean, if you have mothers and fathers, you have four fathers of four separate biological children, then, tell me all that. And I don't like to play ping pong ball where it goes back and forth. I ask a question, then you answer a little bit, and then I ask another question, answer a little bit, which is okay. But try to start off with the allegations, how it happened. Did they come to your home? Did you come to their office? How were the kids taken? Were they taken? Are they in next of kin shelter? Are they in foster care? And what are the allegations? Negligence or abuse and those kinds of things. And so I can help you because I have a wealth of information. I have about 15 years of information of CPS. So I like to share with you and help you because you're with the worst agency there is. I mean, they're worse than the IRS. And the child protection system has different acronyms in each state. But there are an agency that's run wild. They strictly are in the money. It's a money making thing for them. They generate over $80 billion a year. 80 billion. That's more money than they give to Ukraine for the war. So $80 billion. And if that's not enough to understand it, in my county, Orange County, they're getting $20,000 for each of my children per month. I had 3 children. That was $60,000 per month just for one family. You multiply it times 100, 200, 300 families, that's a lot of money. And it does not take that much money to what's the word I'm trying to think of, to take care of your child. Take care of your child. So, again, I'd like you to write in your comments. I'm open. I do mention countries because we have about 10 countries that have called in, and we have one country that calls in all the time. It's Liberia. And it's Archie from Liberia. He's a scouter. He does scouting, and he protects his children. He talks about how bad CPS and how bad the parents are abusing the children in Liberia. But I've also heard from Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, a country called Ghana in South America. Don't know too much about it. It's north of Brazil on the coast there. But they've called in. I've had Mexico. Then I had Mozambique in Africa on the east side, above South Africa, below Somalia, across from Madagascar. That Mozambique country called in about issues they had. And then Denmark from Europe has called in, and of course Liberia. Liberia is the latest one. So all the countries are welcome. All the states are welcome. I've pretty much heard from all 50 states. I've talked to over 500 people, so I have a wealth of information. But you have to understand that CPS varies from county to county, state to state, country to country. It's sad there's no uniformity. It's also sad that they're corrupt and they do it solely for money. They do traffic children, which is illegal. They do alienate children from their family, which is illegal. They steal. They take children that are not in imminent danger and put them into foster care. That's wrong. That's wrong. They can be placed in next of kin, and if it's another state, they can put them in another state. They don't want to spend the money for transport or wherever it costs for them to put it in another state. So this agency is so bad you're saddled with. And you need to really, I have a new rule here, rule number 4. You need to research the internet about your particular county CPS program. Like in Kentucky, they're required to have a license. They're required to have a degree. And there was a little bit of debate with my friend from Kentucky. She's from Richmond, and that state's so corrupt that there's $900,000 unaccounted for, and that's sad. So, um, uh, okay, I was trying to contact. Sometimes the notifications come out late, so I was trying to contact Danielle, my co-host. She has computer problems, and Faye, who's from Richmond, Kentucky, comes on a lot, and she's supportive. She calls in and so forth. So, um, so besides comments, you can also call me. Yes, I have an office phone number 626-698-0990. And you can call that number and I'll answer it. I'm on the show, the podcast, 7 days a week, twice a day. And it may be, um, there's a lot of shows you could be on, and or come on and listen, and so forth. Because I love to have your comments and everything. And so all you do, and again, when you come on live, I'll put you on speakerphone, and you can talk freely about your case and what questions you may have, and um, you'll be on speakerphone. You'll be on speakerphone. Um, so that's the second way. You can text and comments, or you call phone. But right now, if you're not ready and you want to be on as a guest on my show later on and speak, you can email my producer. Her name is Grace. She's my show producer, and she'd gladly help you. All you need to tell her is that I want to be on Bob's morning show or evening show. I want to be on the Tuesday or Monday. So that's all you have to say. And by the way, I'm on every morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, except for today. Sunday is the only day I'm on at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so I like to join my son in church on Sunday, so that's why it's a little bit earlier. So I do it before my church service. And um, you just email grace at vincentwdavis.com. It's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Real simple. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And you email her with the day of the week and the time, and she'll help you get on. She'll help you get the SteamYard application and get you situated so that you can be a guest on my show. And I'd love to have you as a guest. I've had a lot of great guests talk on the show. So that's the third way. Now I'm going to leave my phone number up because that's probably the hardest one to remember. And also, um, I want to tell you about rule number one, and that is to get an attorney. And we have an attorney, a law firm that produces podcasts, Vincent W. Davis and Associates. And Mr. Davis is the lead attorney, and he has over 35 years of family dependency law. I mean, that's what his specialty is. His specialty is to fight CPS, to get back your children. He also is a trial attorney. He's been doing this for over 35 years. So he's the best of the best. In fact, he's so much of a fighter that he does lawsuits against CPS, either civil lawsuits, in federal court or in state court. So he's ready to fight them after your case is over. All you have to do is call in to 888-888-6582. That's 888-888-6582, and tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And when you do speak to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And if you want to go right to his calendar and set an appointment, across the bottom of my screen is a ticket. And you want to go to Candly, CALENDLY.com / and I have to wait for it to go long. It does go kind of fast here. / the law office of VWD / Bob Pace. So it's Candly, CANDEDLY.com / the law office of VWD / Bob Pace. And that is his direct calendar, and you can schedule a time. Now, he offers a consultation for 30 minutes for $60. 30 minutes for $60. So all you have to do is call in or go to that website, and he will help you. He will talk to you about the strategies and how to navigate CPS and how to get your children back. And if you and him have great chemistry, he'll talk about the retainer, how he can defend your case. Keep in mind, he will go to Northern California and other states across the country, but it's a little bit more expensive because you got to pay for his flight and his car rental and his hotel accommodations. So those are additional things. But his rates for doing his work are the same whether in California or in Maine. So it all depends on your case, how complex your case is, and how long the case has been going on. And so the longer you wait for an attorney, the more costly it'll be. I had to sell my home, and that was sad. I struggled for 40 years to buy my home. I had a beautiful home, a $2 million home in a private neighborhood close to the beach. But I lost it all thanks to CPS, who, by the way, they stole my children. They weren't in imminent danger. They were in school at the time they were taken. And are you telling me the school was intimate? They were in the STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, math programs. They're A and B students. They're athletes. You know, one son was on the golf team in robotics, robotic engineering, and that was a sport. And the other son was on the varsity football team. So they were very well and safe in school, but they took them out of that, and They put them in a foster care shelter, which was I don't know, sort of a home, it looks like, that was built and modified next to the prison for juveniles. And their play yard was in the same fence area as theirs. So, what kind of protection is that? They could end up playing with the prisoners. Also, there was a beehive in the play yard that was stinging the children. That's not what I call safety. The food was also awful. Their accommodations were terrible. And their idea of school for the next couple of days was someone to read them a book. Well, it isn't story time. These students need to study because they need to keep with their studies because they're taking complex classes. They're taking calculus, physics. I mean, they are taking heavy, heavy classes. And some of the classes they're taking are AP, advanced placement, which are college level classes. So my kids were in good hands and well to do in school. They're well dressed and well mannered. But the agency's corrupt. They stole my children. They trafficked my children. And for 3 years, I had to fight them from 2015 of May to, well, actually, it should be maybe July of 2015 to December 2017. When I finally got my two boys back, I didn't get my daughter back, which was really sad. I did not get my daughter back. That was the hardest thing for me because during the course of action that my attorney was good, uh, a family member, not my family, my wife's family, was trying to adopt her daughter. And one of the questions on the stand, the social worker lied, and we knew it was a blatant lie. And, you know, my family member lost the case to get her daughter, but the social worker took revenge and told our daughter, who was 12 at the time, divorce your parents, change your name, seal your birth certificate like you were born by us, and be adopted in foster care. Well, she listened to them. She did that. And at age 12, we lost her daughter. She's 21 now. She got rid of her foster parents because something came down, which probably is molestation or some harmful stuff because 99% of the foster care parents are no good. It's a waste of time with foster care. And I know some of your foster care parents out there. You probably are good ones. I'd like to hear from you. My show's open to everybody. I had a caseworker here from Maryland who said that she had a clinical psychology degree and went through 6 months of additional training in the state of Maryland. And she talked for 40 minutes. So it was a pleasant conversation. And so um, it is hard when you lose a family member. It's every day I think about my daughter, you know, and my sons, I still encourage them to see her, even though she's divorced from her sons. She gets together, they have times together, so that's good. It's not as much as I like it to be, but and I really don't know how my daughter's doing in college, whether she's finished it or has more years to go. I know that she was in college, but she'd been bounced around, and she's living with her other daughter, which is good. I'm glad to hear that is working out okay. Maybe she is taking care of my daughter's children as a trade off for living with her. But they're together. So, she's with her sister and she's her two brothers. So I have hope that eventually the family will get back together. Um, so I've talked about rule number one about getting an attorney. I've talked about rule number four about researching. It's so important how much differences are. And if you want to know how bad the social services is, um, they there's a group of, and I call them the Pink Ladies, of social workers in Prescott, Arizona, and I'm sad to say that these social workers in Prescott, Arizona, decided to think it was funny. And what they did is that they decided to make pink T-shirts, and on the front of the T-shirts they had stenciled that they're professional kidnappers, child kidnappers, not just kidnappers, child kidnappers. They said they were professionals, and that disturbed me. I think it disturbs anybody. And on the back of the T-shirts, they had put, "Do you know where your children are at?" And they prayed around. They went to Walmart, they went to other department stores, and it was sad. It was really sad. And that's the attitude of social workers. One example. I know there's hundreds of examples. Um, there's hundreds of examples. Um, so they paraded, and of course, these pink ladies were immediately fired. This happened in 2022, a couple years ago. It happened. And they are, of course, were fired as well as the director. It wiped out the whole Social Security staff because there was only one guy left. And that's sad because then there's the problem about our children, not being safe. And it is really hard that when you think about it, that their attitude is so bad. Not only is their attitude bad, it seems like uh, it's almost like they're in a different world, and it's strictly for money. But when I saw that, and I saw the pictures and read the article, great. Now they're gone. 25 years experience went out the window, and then the city of Prescott area doesn't have social workers to protect their kids. It's all because the attitude of social workers has seen the majority. I've seen videos of where a social worker comes out and is talking to a mom who's sitting in her yard. She has a trailer of a home. And of course, they don't have a perimeter fence, they don't have an area. And the police come out with them and this is in Kentucky, and they're interviewing the mom. And they say, "We don't need a court order. We don't need a warrant. We can take your children." It was bad to watch this being live. And the police officers, I feel really bad because they don't even look educated. I don't know where they learned their police school work. And the social worker looked like she was like 20 years old. How could she have a college degree and a license and to have all the experience? You see, you need a lot of experience to be a social worker. You need, I don't know, to be a good social worker, I think you should have at least 20 years of experience. And you should actually follow someone around. You should have a mentor. And for the first 10 years, you should be with that person or several people to learn the styles and how to take care of families. And a lot of them are not taking any of the parenting classes, any of the programs. They have no idea what they're putting their parents through. They do not understand. And these social workers are so, so, so bad. Good morning, Robin Harrington. And I want to welcome you to this podcast. And I know you got sick of controlling CP people. Robin Harrington, what city and state are you from? Are you from a country? I like to get an idea so I can map out in my mind where the spots are. Um, Robin, it's hard this time of morning to be wide awake. I know it's early. If you're on the East Coast, it's later, so it's not too bad. On the West Coast, it's still early in the morning. And so you're from Bryan, Ohio. Well, welcome from Bryan, Ohio, or actually from Bryan, Ohio. Now I don't know where Bryan, Ohio is. I know where Cincinnati and Cleveland and some of the other cities there. But thank you for sharing me. Um, do you have everything you want to talk to me about your case, or if you have a case, or is it over with, or what your situation? How can I help you? How can I help you, Robin? It's a hard thing if you don't want to talk. I understand about your case. You may be hurting like I am about my daughter being taken away from there. And I do have a phone number besides texting. You can call in at 626-698-0990 if you want to talk about your case. It sometimes helps. Also, I know that if you're not ready, I can understand that. I can understand that. But Robin, we're just talking about the type of agency you have to deal with. I mean, a lot of people, can't realize what CPS is, but everybody knows the story of Allison in Wonderland, and that's what CPS is. Allison was in her back garden playing, and she fell in a rabbit hole and ended up in all these rooms. Well, that's what CPS is. They have rooms after rooms, and they're crazy people. They don't talk right. They don't care about your family. They don't do anything about that. So if you want to get an idea of the chaos and how lost you are, just think of Alice in Wonderland. That right there is CPS. Or those pink ladies parading around and on the front of their T-shirts saying we're professional child kidnappers, or on the back of their shirt saying, "Do you know where your children are at?" They're out there chasing children. Yeah, the judge is very controlling. I agree with you. The judge, some judges are good, some judges are bad. I had a bad judge. The judges in California are appointed by elections, not appointed, I'm sorry, are picked by elections. And the judge that I had in dependency court knew all about car repairs and collision claims and automobile accidents, but knew nothing about the negligence of or the abuse of children or how to do family unification. He was a bad judge. He was a crooked judge. He wouldn't listen to, and I first started out with a court appointed attorney, which was a bad mistake. Well, these people are, their main focus or goal is to get bonuses. They get money. My social worker bragged about her Gucci purse every week, her BMW car, her eyelashes, her eye makeup, her accessories, her clothing. She bragged about all that because she got bonuses and lots of bonuses. So when you have an agency that is $80 billion a year and making money and giving out bonuses to the workers, you have a conflict of interest. You're not going to have those people that are supposed to, and they're not even trained. In California, you do not need a college degree in social work. You don't have to be licensed in California. And you don't even have to be experienced to be a social worker. You put right on the spot right away. Now, other states may be different. That's why I say my rule number 4 is study the internet about your area you live in. Learn all there is. The internet is wealth of information. You have to learn what is a social worker. You need to, if you're going to fight them, you need to know what you're up against. And I talked about rule 1, where you have to have an attorney. If you try to use a court appointed attorney, it's a waste of time. They have maybe 30 clients at one time. That's too many people to handle. They only talk to you the day of the court or the hearing. They won't talk to you ahead of time. And they're certainly not going to fight for you. They want the easy way out. So they're not going to fight for you. And then these court appointed attorneys are friends with the social workers' attorneys, friends with the children's attorneys. The children attorneys are the ones placed by CPS. They stack everything against you. The child protection system picks the children's attorneys and the court appointed attorney and the judge and the social worker attorneys. They're all against you. You're wasting your time. You need to get a real attorney. I know it costs money. I know it costs money. I just sold my home. So, yeah, they play golf together. They socialize, have meals and stuff. So, yep, you're right. You're right. Well, sometimes the first mistake people make are to allow them into your home. And that's my rule number 3 is that you say no to social workers. You don't talk to them. It's a yes, no answer. That also goes for the police. You don't allow them in your home. You don't allow them to inspect your home. You don't allow them to talk to you. And you don't allow them to take your children. And that also goes for the medical trafficking. If you take your child because they're sick in the middle of the night, sometimes the hospital will call a social worker, or a social worker will be on staff, and they'll snap your children away. All because maybe you disagree, or you want a second opinion, or see the children's pediatrician at the next day when they're working. But medical trafficking is bad. Another part of medical trafficking, besides 6 children, is when you get to go have a child. And if you tested positive for drugs, they're so gross that they'll march in and take the child who's just been birthed. They have no comprehensions about anything. They think they're above the law. They think they're above the law. Yep, the social workers do drugs. I have seen that. Yep, judges are alcoholics. I agree with you. I agree with you. Well, they come because they want the child. See, if they get your child, then they get the money. And I don't know in Ohio how much they get per child per month, but in California, in Orange County, it's $20,000 per month. LA County is 15,500. I know Washington's 8,000. Kentucky, it's about 15,000. So it varies from state to state, but it's all a money thing. It's all a money thing, and they have no scruples. And I'm sad to say that, Robin, because you put so much belief. I did into our government agencies. I put belief into our police, and I was disappointed when I found out that they're corrupt. So I feel for you. All I know is my rule number 1: you need to get an attorney somehow. I sold my home. If you don't have a home, I understand. Uh, it took me, as I say, 40 years to get that current home I had. And I've been living there for quite some time. I've been living there. I lost a home in 2017, and I've been living there for um, 17 years. I lost my home. It was sad. It was sad. So it's a hard thing, Robin. And yeah, I know I said a mouthful because they. I've been talking now since October of 20, and I've talked to a lot of parents. It's the same story. You know, you in Ohio are going through what everybody, whether you're in the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota, or you up in Maine, or Boston, Massachusetts, or Arlington, Virginia. It's sad everywhere. It really is. I mean, there's some horror stories I can tell you. Yes, I agree. You would have been livid. Um, well, I have some things I have to um, contend with. Um, right now, um, and I'm very sorry that they've taken that and lost your home. And I lost my daughter too. She's 21 now. She was taken at 12, stolen at 12. Thank you for coming into the room, Robin, and talking and sharing. Please come back. I'm on 14 times, I mean, twice a day, 7 days a week, morning and afternoon. So it's 10 o'clock in the morning, except on Sunday, I'm on at 8. And it's 7 o'clock at night, and that's all Pacific Standard Time. So have a beautiful day, and good luck with your case. Just whatever you do, try to listen to my 4 rules. I am talking right now about Rule 3, which is to say no to social workers. Don't let them in your home, and don't talk to them. Um, if you let them in your home, they're going to try to take your children. If they ask you to come down to their office, don't bring your children with you. And you don't have to go and talk to them. The easiest way to get out of this whole mess is say, I have an attorney. I need to talk to him first. You're right. You have a right, a legal right to representation. And that will quell them. Now, you need to find an attorney if you don't have one, but it'll give you some time before you have to deal with them. I would place your children with friends in another state while you're dealing with this because they will try to take your children. So if you have family or members, make it a vacation for your kids. Drive them or fly them to another state because it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. And I'm sorry to say that. I'm really sorry to say that. Now we have about 15 minutes left. Um, we had Robin from Ohio talk about her case. I'm open to anybody else who wants to call in at 626-698-0990. Please continue to text in your questions and comments. I will talk to you and try to help you. Um, I have lots of experience and things there. So I'm talking about rule number 3, and you don't want them in. They have to have what's called a warrant. It's a legal document signed by a judge with a wet signature and embossed by a stamp at the lower part. At the top, it should say who they're investigating, um, what children involved, what the allegations are, the address of where this is going to take place, and the date and time this is going to take place, this investigation, or they're taking your children or whatever it is. And it's a hard thing. And the police are usually brought along as intimidation factors. They're in their combat gear and they make it really stressful, and you don't want to fight police because they do horrible things. And it's sad because there are good policemen, they're good social workers, but it seems the majority of them aren't all that great. Aren't all that great. So with a rule number 3, about no to social workers, no to police. Don't talk to them. You can go outside and tell them that, hey, I need to speak to my attorney before I go any further. It's your constitutional rights. Know your constitutional rights. And when the allegations come in, they're going to investigate them within 24 hours, and they're going to determine whether or not they're going to do further action. And if they do plan to take your children, you want to make sure you have a safety plan where the children can safely be. That's with next of kin. Always stress next of kin. Do not let them go into foster care. Don't let them go with strangers and things like that. And try to keep the kids together. It's very important that you keep them together. Um, you got to have a lot of patience and understanding with these social workers because they are bad. They really are bad. Um, you can picture a spider weaving a web. That's what they're going to do to you. They're going to try to put that web around you. They're going to do that, and I'm sorry to say that, but they are. Now, there's another aspect to this rule number 3, which is the medical trafficking. If you go to the doctors or the hospital late at night because your children have a tummy aches like that, listen to what they have to say, but do not surrender your children to social workers. And if you disagree with that, try to be respectful and say you want to see your pediatrician or the other thing because they will somehow try to take away your children. Also, if you're a mother to be, make sure you go over the rules that no social workers are allowed in your birthing room. And I'm sorry you have to say that, but you got to make sure you got to check out the hospital ahead of time. Ask the hospital, do they use CPS caseworkers? Do they come in here? Do they work for you? Stay away from hospitals. They have CPS as full time staff because they will take your children. So I've covered rule number 1, I've covered rule number 3, and rule number 4. 1 was get an attorney. 3 was say no to social workers. Don't let them take your children and watch the medical trafficking. And rule number 4 was to research your area, your CPS organization, and all about it and what it does and the history and stuff so you can be better prepared how to fight them. Well, rule number 2 is about the paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork that goes around and you need to organize it. And I didn't. I was bad about that. And so you need to get a 6-inch ring, 3-ring binder so you can put all your stuff in there and you can be able to thumb through it and so forth. You also need subject tabs. And one of the first subject tabs you can label is called incidents. That's when something happens, whether it involves the police or social worker, anything related to CPS should be recorded. You start off with the date, the time, the location, and the people involved. The next line would be about what the incident's about. And then the third line is the outcome. If you don't know the outcome, you may have to come back later and fill it. Then skip a couple lines and put the next incident. Skip a couple lines for the next incident. If you need more room, use it. That notebook is yours. You're going to stuff it with college ruled notebook paper. And you're going to have the subject matter. Another subject heading is info. Things like phone numbers and places you can contact, websites. All the information you have about CPS is your info tab. You have that on a piece of paper. Then you can have another one, which is the parenting classes that you take, and you want to put the certificates. You want to have a little log or a little edge on the front of it about the date and times you take your parenting classes. And you need all that to organize it and put the certificates in there. Same thing with programs, your anger management program, your drug program, etc. So you can have that. Also, besides those things, the programs and the parenting classes, you will have drug testing. So you want to have drug testing tab and put all your drug tests in there if they are drug testing to show that you um, are free from any drugs that that are prohibited with being around children. Also, you want to put your court papers as another tab and organize them in dates and hole punch them and put them in the notebook. So you could probably think of some more subject matters. As I say, if you get like a 12 subject tabs, you can put 12 things in there. Or you can add more. You can have double that 24, whatever it takes. That notebook is your tool to help you understand because you will not remember things 6 months later or a year later. And that's why you need it. Also, you can explain things to your attorney. Use highlighters. Pink and yellow work good to highlight things you want to come back to. You know, yellow is a pretty bright color and pink is too. So use highlighters. You can use other colors, blues or whatever. Some are more easier to see, some are not. So that's my rule number 3. So I've covered the 4 rules. Now there's a very important um, thing called ICWA. ICWA is the Indian Child Welfare Act. It's those parents that are Indian and have Indian children. And what it does, it protects the Indian children. And for so long, you know, these first immigrants that came across Alaska and settled in North America and in the United States, um, in 1875 were pretty much being put on reservations, and the Indians were definitely on the way out. They finally, after so many broken promises and stealing of Indian lands and starving the Indians and killing off their buffalo, they were trying to destroy the race. The people in America, for some strange reason, couldn't comprehend the American Indians. It's their way of life was different than theirs. Theirs a European way of life. And they thought they were more civilized. But I think the Indians were just as civilized as they were. And the Indians at the first were very open to the European settlers. And I'm saying the word European not to say white or black or Indian blood or whatever, because there's a lot of immigrants. And I feel that people are born in the United States are no longer an immigrant or American. They are a U.S. citizen. So if you're born here, whether you're an Indian, black, Chinese, white, European, whatever you are, you're American. And you should, feel that way. And everybody should be treated equally that way. And so this ICWA was passed that forces CPS to no longer kidnap the Indian children and foster care them off. They were so bad from 1875 to 1978 that the American Indian families were broken apart. The families didn't have any chance. And so now they have to find out if you're registered with one of the 547 federal recognized tribes. And if you're not registered, how you can be registered if you have the Indian blood in you. Whether you're Crow, Lakota Sioux, Cheyenne, or whether you're Comanche or Apache or Navajo, or Cherokee. There's all these tribes. And the whole purpose of this is why this act is so that children, CPS has released the children and put them in the hands of Indian tribes, who in turn will put them with Indian families and help them go through these allegations and help the family be reunified. That's the whole purpose. Is we need to reunify families. We don't need to keep breaking families up and have them adopted. That's really sad. So the CICWA is supposed to do that, and you got to be on CPS because they'll try to railroad that, and that is wrong. That is wrong. So I'm telling you, um, make sure that your children are protected. You know everything out there. There's another form, the 3-8 motion, which is a motion that you petition the court to have a hearing with new information about your case. In California, it's called a 3-8. In various states, it varies. But it's a petition to file a motion that you come before the judge, and it's going to happen in 30 days or less. And you get to present your completion of your parenting class. It's open your case so that you can continue on with it. Because a lot of times they'll let it stagnate. So file that petition to show cause that you have new information and that you want to open your case and have the hearing before the judge. So that's another important thing. You need to be aware of the ICPC. That is a private organization that helps to transfer children from state to state because one state may not be able to meet the needs of the special needs children. So you need to know about that. There's a lot of things out there that are so bad that you need to think about. But don't trust the social workers. In fact, the other day in Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, there's a social worker on her Facebook page put an old ad from 1848 called Black Children for Sale. Black Children for Sale is really bad. That's really, really, really bad. And it has no place in the year 2024. Why this social worker did this? That's the thinking of social workers. And I challenge any social worker to come and talk on my show about how they do CPS and how they reunite families and how they protect families. Because so far I've had only one social worker. And it was great. For 40 minutes, she talked professionally. Carol from Maryland. And she had her degree in college in clinical psychiatry. And she said the state of Maryland put her through 6 months of additional training, which is, hard to hear. So with your research, your rule number 4, make sure you search. Everything is about CPS in your county, in your state, in your city. You need to know how to file grievances and all that stuff against people and everything. Well, my time's up. I want to end the show. I certainly enjoyed having you here. God bless you all. Keep fighting for your kids. And this is Bob Pace signing off. I'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock.